The marble floor of Crescent First Bank felt cold beneath my worn sneakers as I approached the pristine counter. Everything about this place screamed wealth and exclusivity, from the gleaming brass fixtures to the soft classical music that whispered through hidden speakers. I clutched the withdrawal slip in my sweaty palm, feeling suddenly out of place in my faded jeans and simple cardigan. "Next in line," called a voice I knew too well. My stomach dropped. Behind the counter stood Celeste, my older sister, resplendent in her navy blazer with the bank's gold pin gleaming on her lapel. Her perfectly styled auburn hair caught the overhead lights, and her smile, cold and professional, froze when she recognized me. "What are you doing here, Reese?" she hissed, her voice barely above a whisper but dripping with disdain. I slid the withdrawal slip across the marble counter. "I need to withdraw $100. It's for Mrs. Dowey, my elderly neighbor." Her heating bill wiped out her grocery money. Celeste picked up the slip like it was contaminated, her manicured nails clicking against the paper. She glanced around the busy lobby, then back at me with a smirk that made my blood run cold. "We don't operate a charity here," she announced, her voice now loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. "This is a financial institution, not a soup kitchen. Perhaps you should try somewhere that serves beggars." The word hung in the air like a slap. Conversation stopped. A man in an expensive suit lowered his newspaper to stare. A woman clutching a designer purse turned to whisper to her companion. The security guard shifted uncomfortably near the entrance. Heat flooded my cheeks, but I didn't flinch. I'd spent 32 years perfecting the art of staying silent under my family's cruelty. Instead, I simply nodded, turned on my heel, and walked out of that bank with as much dignity as I could muster. But that silence wasn't surrender. It was calculation. What Celeste didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I held the keys to something that could bring her entire world crashing down in a matter of hours. The quiet, unremarkable sister they'd dismissed for decades had been busy, very busy. The foundation of everything. Growing up as the middle child in the Langley family meant mastering the art of invisibility, while Celeste basked in our parents' praise for her academic achievements and social connections. I found solace in the basement with my grandfather's old computers. Arthur Langley was the only one who ever truly saw me. "You've got a mind for systems, little Ree," he'd say, watching me troubleshoot ancient hardware with the patience of a surgeon. "Systems and patterns. That's real power, understanding how things work beneath the surface." He died when I was 15, leaving behind a modest trust fund that my parents promptly forgot about. But I didn't forget. I nurtured it, protected it, and used my computer skills to make it grow in ways that would have made grandfather proud. By 18, I'd earned a full scholarship to study information systems at a technical college, not the Ivy League school Celeste attended, but somewhere I could learn without the suffocating weight of family expectations. I worked nights as a digital security consultant, first for small startups, then for increasingly sophisticated clients who valued discretion above all else. That's where I met R.A. We never exchanged real names, that was the agreement. He was a financier with connections to offshore capital markets. I was a systems architect who could build invisible digital infrastructures. Together, we created something beautiful, Lighthouse 7, a shell network for confidential capital routing that could move billions across 7 currencies without leaving a trace. I designed every firewall, every encryption protocol, every failsafe. The trust architecture was my masterpiece, elegant, invisible, and completely untraceable. RA handled the capital flow, and by our second year of operation, we were managing $3.5 billion in liquid assets. When it came time to name our holding entity, I chose Valen Trust, from the Latin word for strength, and when we needed an anchor institution to house our primary account, I suggested Crescent First Bank, Celeste's bank. She had no idea that the system she bragged about managing every Christmas dinner was built on my foundation. I'd even watched her sign the compliance paperwork as the designated officer for our partnership, her signature authorizing transactions she never knew existed. It wasn't revenge then, it was poetry. The reckoning. After Celeste's public humiliation, I took the train home to my modest one-bedroom apartment. The walls were lined with books, and my office was a refinished table by the window where I conducted business that moved more money in a day than most people saw in a lifetime. I sat at that table for exactly 1 minute, staring at the blinking cursor on my encrypted terminal. Then I typed, "Begin freeze protocol on Valen Trust primary, initiate verification sweep." I didn't hit enter immediately. Instead, I whispered to the empty room, "Let's see who's really in charge now." The next morning, I dressed carefully in my navy wool coat and carried a black leather folio as I walked back into Crescent First Bank. This time, I wasn't there to beg. "Welcome to Crescent," The receptionist chirped. Do you have an appointment? Yes. Under Valen Holdings. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, then stopped. Her screen flashed red. She blinked, looked up at me, then back at her screen. I need to get someone immediately. Across the lobby, I spotted Celeste by the espresso cart, laughing too loudly with a regional associate. When she saw me, her entire body went rigid. She marched over, heels clicking like gunshots on the marble. What are you doing here? You don't have any business with this bank. I handed the folio to the receptionist, who opened it with trembling fingers. The QR code on the inside flap made her face go pale. I need the branch manager, she whispered. Right now. Celeste snatched the folio from her hands. Let's see what my little sister thinks she's playing at. She flipped through the first page with a smirk, then the second. By the third page, her face had drained of all color. The branch manager arrived, a distinguished man with silver hair and calm eyes. He took the folio gently and addressed me with sudden respect. Miss Langley, we weren't informed of an in-person review, but of course we'll accommodate immediately. He studied the documents, his expression growing more focused with each page. This is a VIP level authorization. Primary liquidity request flagged as sensitive. He turned to Celeste. Miss Walsh, you're listed as a partner employee on these documents. Were you aware of your affiliate's identity? Celeste stumbled backward. That can't be real. It's fake. It's real, I said quietly. You've been working under my signature for 3 years. The lobby fell silent. Even the classical music seemed to pause. Withdrawal authorized. The manager read aloud. $3.5 billion confirmed. Audit flag triggered. Branch lockdown protocol initiated. The words hit Celeste like physical blows. She staggered, then dropped to her knees on the cold marble floor, her composure finally cracking. Reese, please, she whispered, mascara beginning to streak down her cheeks. Don't do this. I have a child. I have a mortgage. If this hits the audit chain, you humiliated me for needing $100. I said, my voice steady as stone. Now you're afraid I'll take back what was always mine. You're my sister. I tilted my head. Am I? You decided I wasn't part of this family a long time ago. The family dinner. The call started that same evening. Not from Celeste, she knew better, but from our mother's landline. Then texts from Clarissa, our diplomatically minded younger sister. Mom wants to host a family dinner. Can you come? No apology, no acknowledgement, just that simple question, heavy with desperation. Friday night found me at Belmont Bistro, the family's traditional celebration venue, sitting in a private room under amber pendant lights. For the first time in my life, the reserved sign on our table didn't make me feel excluded. They arrived one by one, Clarissa with her practiced smile, our cousin George with newfound caution, and finally Celeste, who couldn't meet my eyes. When our mother Eleanor entered, I noticed she looked older, softer somehow, as if the week had aged her years. My girls, she said, trying to recapture some bygone warmth. The performance began immediately. Clarissa wondered if I was doing yoga. There was something so calm about me lately. George made jokes about smart investments. They circled like scavengers, trying to understand what had changed. Finally, I reached into my bag and placed a slim folder on the table. The word active was stamped across the top in federal blue ink. Did any of you ever ask what happened to grandfather's Pennsylvania Land Trust? The silence was deafening. That was dissolved years ago, Celeste whispered. No, I said simply. It wasn't dissolved. It was shelved, forgotten by everyone except me. I rebuilt it, protected it, while you were all busy writing me out of everything. When the check came, I stood. Everyone covers their own this time. I left the folder on the table and walked out into the crisp night air, finally free. Legacy reclaimed. The following Monday, I entered the Legacy building through the private entrance, past marble walls carved with family names. Arthur Langley's name had been there for decades. Now mine was etched beside his. In the vault-level conference room, 7 board members waited as I laid out the final documentation. This isn't a status report, I announced. It's a structural transition. The 1956 Langley Trust merges into Valen Trust Holdings. I am the sole beneficiary. The transition was swift and unanimous. When Clarissa arrived with her official removal notice, she asked if it was really necessary. You tried to erase me, I said simply. I'm just taking back what you tried to hide. But revenge was never the endgame. That night, I found a letter slipped under my door, cream paper with my mother's handwriting. She wrote about a summer day when I was 10, running a lemonade stand until Clarissa knocked over the pitcher. Mom had seen it happen but told me not to make a fuss. I didn't defend you then, she wrote. I'm asking you not to mirror what broke you. The next morning, I opened the doors to the Langley Initiative, a non-profit funded by the very money that had once been used to dismiss me. On my desk sat an old notebook from childhood, filled with hopeful diagrams and a note I'd written, "One day I'll have a vault, and I won't leave anyone out." I hadn't become like them, I'd become better. Because true power isn't about taking everything from those who hurt you, it's about building something so strong, so lasting, that their cruelty becomes irrelevant. Money doesn't change people, it just reveals who they always were underneath. And sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the one who's been listening the longest, learning the most, and planning for the day when silence finally speaks louder than words. The vault was mine now, and unlike them, I wouldn't leave anyone out.